Throughout the first 7 Five Nights at Freddy's game, there's been so many good stuff that we have seen through 1 through 7. But today we're going to talk about, in my opinion, the 3 worst games in the first 7 Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. Now, yes, let me make this clear. This is my opinion, and we're going to be talking about the bottom 3 games, in my opinion, that I overall just didn't find that enjoyable, didn't find that much fun, and overall did not get me excited for the future of Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, let me make this clear. Every Five Nights at Freddy's game is awesome to me. It's absolutely fantastic. It's super enjoyable. But today, we're going to measure in excitement, gameplay, and also the lore. I feel like the lore is a big part of the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. So those are going to be the measurements today. And again, it's my opinion. They're all great. This is what I think, in my opinion, is the most enjoyable. At third worst, we're going to talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 7 Custom Night. Now, let's make this clear. Five Nights at Freddy's 7 Custom Night has a bunch of animatronics. The whole gang is here. Everyone's here. Everyone's riled up. Yes, we get a little bit of lore drops with the one you should not have killed, Vengeful Spirit, all that stuff. I get it. But there's just more games out there, in my opinion, that not only give more to the lore, but also have better gameplay. Five Nights at Freddy's 7, it's very chaotic. It is very fun if you can kind of know all the techniques and all the tricks and stuff like that. But something like 50-20 mode is absolutely insane. It's the third worst, in my opinion. Not like the worst game in the Five Nights at Freddy's 7 franchise, but also there's better games out there, in my opinion. I think Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is really good. I think Sister Location is really good. Five Nights at Freddy's 7, in my opinion, the third worst game in the franchise. Yes, the gameplay is really good. In the terms of the lore, we already kind of know everything at this point, except the Vengeful Spirit and things like that. So Five Nights at Freddy's 3, in my opinion, third worst. Number 2, the second worst, we're going Five Nights at Freddy's 2, second game in the series. What did it do? Added more animatronics. It added the puppet, a key character in the Five Nights at Freddy's lore. But overall, to me, the gameplay, very simple. If you kind of know some technique, if you kind of do the same rotation over and over and over, you'll be good in the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 game. Very fun, in my opinion. It's kind of one of the most mainstream Five Nights at Freddy's games because, again, you see everyone playing Five Nights at Freddy's 2. People do play Five Nights at Freddy's 1 and things like that. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 with the mask. I like that concept. What did we learn about Five Nights at Freddy's 2? We learned about the puppet. We learned about Spring Bonnie, a yellow one. We learned about that stuff. We learned about a little bit about William Afton and his killings. We learned about the puppet getting killed. Really interesting stuff. We got the mini games in between. It's Me, things like that. The crying child, not the crying child, but the 5 kids going missing. We learned more about that, things like that. But again, the gameplay to me, it's very simple, very easy to understand. Not really that scary because, again, if you do get jump scared, it's either A, you missed the mask, B, you let an animatronic in, or C, you just didn't get the puppet in time, or D, you didn't put your mask on for Golden Freddy to stop you. So again, it's not really that scary, in my opinion. Very simple, very easy. Obviously, the second game in the franchise, so I do believe Scott didn't really know as much as he did about the lore, making the second game rather than the 6th game. We gotta understand that. Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was very simple and very to the point. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, very simple, very to the point. But Five Nights at Freddy's 3 had the big introduction of William Afton. So that's a big part. So I do believe between 1 and 2, Scott really didn't understand the direction that Five Nights at Freddy's was going in. Still an absolute fantastic game. It was really good, in my opinion. Really good if you want to begin in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise. Really good. Gives you key components of the franchise. Learns you about, the puppet. Learns you about Golden Freddy. Learns you about Springtrap. Learns you about the Wizards, toys. Really cool stuff. But it's the second worst game, in my opinion. And the worst game, in my opinion, in the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, in my opinion, is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Very simple. The first one in the franchise. And no, this one by default, it's kind of the worst game in the franchise for many reasons. First of all, very simple gameplay. Very easy. First game in the series. So again, there's not going to be a lot of lore drops. There's not going to be a lot of, oh my god, this and that. Very simple and to the point. We learn about the Bite of 87. We get Foxy in there and stuff like that. I like the early theories of Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was that the reason why Foxy was out of order was because he did commit the Bite of 87. And then in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, it said Mango committed the Bite of 87 because Mango's coming from your frontal lobe. It's coming from the top part. I love those OG theories, man. It brings me way back to when I was younger. That was super fun to see. Gameplay is very stale, very basic, very normal. Not really that scary. Five Nights at Freddy's scary if you allow the animatronics in or you just don't see them. Not really that scary, to be honest. Managing your power, it's really simple as well. Same thing with Custom Night 7 if you go 20-20-20-20 mode. You just have to do one sort of rotation. So the gameplay is not really the best, in my opinion. But again, this is all by default. It's still a fantastic game. It's the one that blew the franchise up. Five Nights at Freddy's got people talking. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 blew it up. But again, look, this is the beginning of the franchise. Very easy, very simple. Because again, I do believe it was first a survival game. It was can you survive Five Nights at Freddy's, right? It's in the title. But as we go from Five Nights at Freddy's 3 to Five Nights at Freddy's 4, it became bigger. The story became bigger, more impact, more lore. Who's that character? Who's that? Bite of 87, Bite of 83, Purple Guy, Pink Guy. Like, all those theories, in my opinion, were so fun to look at back in the day. But yeah, guys, in my opinion, the 3 worst games in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, in my opinion: third worst, Five Nights at Freddy's 7, Custom Night; second worst, Five Nights at Freddy's 2, and the worst game in the Five Nights at Freddy's series is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's 1. Now, let me make this clear. All first 7 Five Nights at Freddy's games are absolutely fantastic. They're super enjoyable. They're what made the franchise what they are today, from Custom Night to Five Nights at Freddy's 2 to Five Nights at Freddy's 4, Five Nights at Freddy's 1. But this is just in my opinion, when we go from a lore standpoint, enjoyability, and overall just fun. I mean, I look at something like Sister Location and Five Nights at Freddy's 4 and Five Nights at Freddy's 6. Like, those games are really fun. They're really fun. You know, the anxiety you get from going in the Funtime Foxy, and you have to click the space bar. You can't go that fast. To Balora's Gallery, things like that. Like, those games, in my opinion, are really fun. And we're gonna make a tier list of the 3 best games in the Five Nights at Freddy's series, in my opinion. Remember, these are all my opinion. I'm happy to hear why I'm wrong in the comment section. You can tell me why I'm wrong. I want to hear why you think 1, 2, and 7 are some of the best games in the series. But yeah, guys, those are my opinions. So in conclusion, I have Five Nights at Freddy's 7, third worst game in the franchise. I have Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the second worst game in the franchise. And the last one, I have Five Nights at Freddy's 1 as the worst game in the Five Nights at Freddy's game series. I'm sure Scott didn't know that Five Nights at Freddy's was going to become this mega IP that everybody would be looking to. The lore, Purple Guy, Pink Guy, William Afton, stuff like that. But yeah, man, guys, what do you think about my ratings in the comments? Am I right? Am I wrong? Am I correct? Am I not correct? You let me know in the comments, man. I have no problem listening to discussion. The next video we're going to do is going to be the 3 best games in the Five Nights at Freddy's series. So let me know in the comments. And if you're hype about that, man, hit that like button, hit that sub button. We're posting new videos every single day, whether it's FNAF, Mario, Sonic, the Avengers, anything out there, man. But I would love to hear in the comments what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. But amen. See you guys in the next video.